Hi, Mark Slauter here to do my review of Anne Rice and her son Christopher Rice, The Passion of Cleopatra. Now, if you saw my review on Anne Rice and her story, Prince Lestat and the Realms of Atlantis, you'll know I wasn't very pleased, and I told you why. This book, this is the Anne Rice that I know and enjoy reading. It's interesting too because I don't know which parts were written by Anne or her son, so it's seamless between the two of them. It would be really interesting to have a conversation with them to find out who wrote which part of the book. And this was great because the first book was published in 1989, and I read it shortly after it came out. And starting this one, it all came back, which was fantastic. You know, everything that had occurred in The Mummy, Ramses the Damned, it was great. She just picks up right where she left off. So for a refresher, and if you haven't read the first book, Julie Stratford, her father's shipping magnate, she and Ramses get together. Her cousin, Henry, tried to kill her, successfully killed her father, they eventually found out. Some friends of theirs, very close friends, the Earl of Rutherford and his son Alex are also along on the initial trip. So this book picks up after what happened in the first book. And that left off with Cleopatra. Ramses had resurrected Cleopatra while she was encased in a glass case in an Egyptian museum with this elixir. And of course, you know, being a mummy for 1,000 years or 2,000 years, it's understandable to be rudely awakened, brought back to life, and not having any idea what was going on. So she was highly unstable, went crazy, and the book, in essence, ends with her running in. She's driving a car and runs into basically two trains, and the car blows up. There's this huge fireball. She does eventually end up in a hospital, but Ramses and Julie and the Earl and his son all thought that they're dead. Now, the Earl's son Alex was in love with Cleopatra, so he is just absolutely heartbroken over this. But Cleopatra ends up in a hospital, and of course, because of the elixir, she heals rather quickly, and there is a doctor in the hospital who begins to take care of her. And so this story opens up with a brand new character, Queen, either Bekhtaten or Bekhtaten, and she is a great character. She was a queen of an African country, and she just doesn't take names and kicks ass, and is very calm about the whole thing. You know, there's this element of being old and being wise and being intelligent that Anne and Christopher have carried forward in this character, and it's a pleasure to read that. So the book opens up with Queen Bekhtaten and her minister. It's 3600 BC, and it's in Jericho, and you get a little bit of flavor of what's going on. The book starts with picking up where it left off with Cleopatra. So she's quickly healed. She's kind of hooked up with this doctor in the hospital who's beginning to fall in love with her, and he gets her out of the hospital, and that initiates their journey. The Mummy, Ramses the Damned, left off where Alex had gone back to England. The Earl of Rutherford, Ramses, and Julie had gone to Venice. So this one picks up, they're in Venice, Alex is in England, and Ramses has given the elixir to both the Earl and to Julie, but not to Alex. And the Earl decides he's going to run off to Monte Carlo and try his hand at the tables. He's feeling a bit lucky now that he's immortal. Alex has decided that he's going to head home, and he and his mother are going to set up an engagement party for Ramses and Julie. So Ramses and Julie obviously have to make their way to England. So there's several chapters following everybody's travels. Now, Cleopatra initially wasn't going to follow them, but she decides she better. And there's an interesting twist in this. There's a young female writer in Chicago, and again, this book takes place in the early 1900s, so the role of gender is a whole lot different than it is today. So she basically has two idiotic brothers, but she's running the businesses. She's a successful writer of fiction, which is Egypt themed, and she's always had these weird dreams. But she also decides that she's going to attend this engagement party. And what Anne and Christopher set up is a mental connection between this writer, Sybil Parker, and Cleopatra. So that's woven throughout the entire book. and that's really a great. They tell a really great story to that. So a lot of the book evolves around people traveling to England, and Beckhotten, who is also in England at this point, along with her prime minister that she does not know is in England, but he has some very interesting plans for Ramses and Julie. So there's this huge whole thing that takes place at the estate of the Earl of Rutherford and his wife. That's great. So it rolls into eventually Beckhotten has to deal with the issue of Saknos, which is her prime minister. She has to deal with that problem. And the way that she does it is just beautiful. The other thing that Anne does in this is she ties together the priestess that Ramses initially killed to get the elixir, the history of the elixir, and there's a lot of backstory to Beckhotten. So it's really great the way that they've done that. The story's well crafted, and it ends up where things are a little bit tied up, starting to tie some of the loose ends, and it does end up where Sybil and Cleopatra actually meet. And the way that Christopher and Anne have ended this story is there's plenty of wiggle room to follow up in subsequent books. So this is the Anne Rice that I know and enjoy reading, and I highly recommend go get the book. If you're an Anne Rice fan, you'll love it. If you haven't read the first one, I don't think you'd have to, but it is definitely recommended that you do that before you dig into this one. So definitely a thumbs up. Give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Way to go, Anne. I'm much more pleased with this than Prince Lestat and the Realms of Atlantis. Have a great day and keep on reading.